Welcome y'all to Soul Coffee. We got a super potent brew today. I got a wonderful individual, and I'd just like to share a quote to start this episode off as I saw on her page, and I just had absolute resonance with it. And it was from Viktor Frankl from the book Man's Search for Meaning. And the quote reads, "The last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. It's to choose one's own way." And
Yes.
this individual has absolutely done that with her beautiful mixing of both being an RN and being a personal trainer, making her the only fitness RN in Canada. She has overcome things of anorexia, eating disorders, battling through, controlling your mind and controlling your life expression, just bridging a real gap to, the fitness industry and movement and the benefits to come with that, combined with the medical mind of a nurse and all of the knowledge and really integrating it. And what I find to just be just such a mix of a holistic or vitalistic philosophy, but encompassing, the traumatic care that a nurse needs and all of the medical knowledge that can lead into a new potent brew of life expression and for our healthcare system. So without further ado, I would love to welcome to the show MaryAnn Masesar Blair.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Man, where to begin? Oh my
You know.
goodness. I'd like to just dive into it.
Okay.
What's most important, or what's been the most important drop in realization in this duality that you get the chance to play with of being both an RN and being a personal trainer?
That's a good question. The reality, and this is what I think I've discovered with any situation, is that, there's so much. I think,
Mm,
the trigger is the teacher,
mm,
right? So whether it be a symptom, an emotion, a feeling, I think that when we're going through change, transformation, a new awareness, a new experience, we have to take it as something that's trying to teach us something.
yes.
Um, so if it's anything that I've learned, whether it's fitness or in health, is that it's always there to teach you. It's not there to discourage you, to bring you down, to make you feel any way. It's there to tell you something. And your goal as a soul is to
Ooh.
understand um, what that lesson is.
I love that because it's in our body. As I feel we have a lessened awareness potentially for some people, but a lessened awareness of the signs and symptoms, or essentially the signs that people can recognize in themselves and what that can be telling us, because our body is intelligent, right? Like this is a divine design. Like all organs are there for a reason. And man, we're getting rhythmic today on the
I
soul
love it.
coffee. Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, and especially in our body. However, people can just look to get the instant gratification to just fix something, when instead it's a process. It's a lifestyle, as you've talked about so well on some of your material: recuperation, nourishment, movement, sleep. I love that you hit on sleep and meditation, even if it's just closing your eyes for a few minutes a day to slow down and calm down those brain waves. I just love the integrative approach that you share in your practice.
Yeah, I think that it's key that we focus on not just doing all the time, but that we're looking within, right? And that was not a lesson that I learned right away, right? You kind of figure that out as you're growing through things, but as you meet people, you talk to things, talk to beings about how to manage your energy, manage life. You realize that it's all here, right? It's all here. It's not there. It's not in that person. It's not in this experience, but it's here. And it's like, I'm sure you read the book, The Alchemist, but that was like,
Oh, have I ever?
things come to you in like the most, you know, perfect ways, right? Perfect
Yes.
timing and everything. And so like those kinds of messages was like, it just happens. There's synchro destiny everywhere.
Mm.
We need to, we need to find it.
Just need to find it, or just need to pay attention.
Yes, pay attention. Yeah, you're
Because
right.
we get so distracted. Like, man, y'all, we'll be sure to put in the post in the show notes, but y'all gotta look up her Instagram. Y'all gotta look at the wholeness, the encompassing that she really takes people through, anything from EMF wave and damages that can have in the body as well. And
Mhm.
um that goes back to the distractions, the distractions that are all around us. And who are the distractions really benefiting? How is it diverting your energy elsewhere? So that way you're continuously looking outside in versus inside out, because just because another person did it, you can do it too.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, like you said, we're living in a distracted world now. And that's where we have to, it's more important now than ever to start paying attention to, what is distracting me, because that
Mm.
also is key with how we're putting our awareness um, into a learning experience, right? Because, okay, this piece of news, what is it telling me? Why am I attracted to that? What is it trying to tell me? So yeah, it's a distraction, but at the same time, look at yourself in the third person and ask yourself, why am I allowing this distraction to come through?
Ooh, that is a super potent skill, like metacognition, to observe that you're observing, or to, I'm feeling this, but it's like, okay, well, why am I feeling this? Like, I wrote down uh the trigger. The trigger is the teacher.
It
That
is.
is that's beautiful. And what would you offer to people to I guess, better have those awareness, whether it be journal prompts, or what has really worked for you?
I think everybody, and I've gone through, meeting different people, but I think everybody has a different way of learning. Some
Yes.
people, I'm very big on meditation, journaling, outside walking, being out in nature.
Oh, amen.
Some people's just being with their dog, sitting in their
Mm,
room, looking at the ceiling. It's different for everybody and at different times, right?
mm,
Um,
mm.
one type of meditation might work perfect for you today, and another type of meditation might be what you need, tomorrow. So it's really paying attention to how you just knowing where your emotions and your feelings are, so that you can identify, what do I need right now? And especially now, like, we're so used to, I was very big on routines and rituals, and I still am. But now that we're kind of coming into this new, we're home more, we're doing all these things, we have to instill those routines and rituals for me anyways, in a more short periods of time throughout the day, because we are much more easily distracted now, because we
Yes.
are not in our whatever past normal, whatever that can be, or whatever that was.
Yes.
But it's, why are we here now? What's this period of rest or pause trying to tell me?
Mm. I love that question. Why are we here now? Because I've had great conversations with one of my brothers, Matt McNeil, Brother Energy, part of my fraternity. Shout out to him.
Hmm.
We logged on to this human being. We logged on to this vessel. We chose to incarnate at this time at the soul level for some reason. With all that's going on, it's all for some reason. Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about we're in the midst of, I think, the sixth greatest extinction potentially of the planet, and instead of it being a natural cause, it's an unnatural cause, or it's stemming from us. We have so much more perspective on, like, we haven't been living sustainably. I think
Yeah.
the biggest reflection is we can see that in our bodies manifesting into dis-ease and then diseases, as it's two different things I'd like to highlight
Hmm.
for people. um,
Hmm.
and I feel like it directly correlates with our relationship with nature, and how there's been a severance of that, or that, man, like Ishmael. Have you read the book Ishmael?
Yeah.
Oh man,
A long
Daniel,
time ago, but yeah, yes.
super fire. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but he talks about, or in the book, it talks about how there's the leavers and then there's the takers in
Right.
society. The
Yes.
leavers being in alignment and honoring of, as a human species, only taking what we need, or only, I guess, leaving more for the world, which would articulate better, not, growing, agriculture, and how that shifted us, how we could stockpile our food, and then how it's just continuously, got our food quality has just deteriorated, and there's more pesticides and GMOs and fats, and, like, the amount of fast food and just how available it is. It's unsustainable. So that way there's no meat available, from what I hear. Ohio, which from what I understand is like meat country with all the farms and stuff. So it's like, what is going on, and how can we all take a step back to better appreciate and see where we're at, and then see, well, where are we trying to go because of the awareness?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I think it's perspective is key, right? And where we are falling is, or where we are failing is that we're not paying attention to why these things are happening, right? So you had mentioned about, where is our superpower? Where is my superpower? And I think it's taking a look at things holistically, finding the root cause, and
Ooh.
really looking deep into where, I gained weight. You see, I come across clients, I gained weight here and this is happening to me, but what is the deep, like, where's, like, I need to get to the bottom. Let's
Hmm.
get there.
Like, but why?
Yeah.
And that's definitely a question I have for you, as you hold such a unique perspective, being able to bridge the gap, because as a nurse or doctor, there, like you said, there's so many regulations you can work within, parameters you got to work within, and recommending care and medications and et cetera there. And you have the awareness, well, okay, well, I also see this being, in what are they doing in their life, because their lifestyle has resulted in their current health expression. So you get to work with them as a life coach, or as a, as a movement specialist, and you get to unwire those patterns, so that way I imagine they wouldn't even end up with those diseases in the first place. So mm, question would be, how do you see the two of your fields coming together, and others, into a new
Hmm.
healthcare expression?
Question. Well, clearly I want all healthcare professionals to utilize lifestyle as part of the prescription.
Ooh,
um, you know, you see those memes where, they go to their doctor and they say, meditate for 30 days and do all this stuff. That's what I want to see. That's the future of healthcare, where, well, let's take a look at, what are you eating? What are you doing today? What is your relationships with people? How are you resting? What's your sleep like? All those things that doctors don't ask when they just look at, how are you feeling today? What's your symptom? I've got a solution for that, right? That
mm,
short-term solution, versus taking a look at, hey, like, your home life is falling apart. You're a type A personality and you want to be productive. That's not where we're going to get you if you want to progress, or if you want to minimize your Parkinson's disease, right? So
mm,
I deal with a lot of individuals who have been recently diagnosed, or been told that by their doctor that they're obese, or that they've got hypertension. They're like, yeah, you've got hypertension, you go stress less. You've got diabetes, lose weight. It's just very simple, when there's a reason why they came to the doctor in the first place. It's a bigger issue, but they're
yes.
they're wanting an answer first. They want a pill for, their problem, and that's not how it works.
Oh, that's so good. I think it was Dr.
Unfold.
Joe Mercola, I believe.
Mm,
He said that you can't prescribe your way out of the way you've behaved.
yes.
I'll say it
Yeah.
again. You can't prescribe or medicate your way out of the way you've behaved.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
something sexier than that, but hey, that's what we're rocking with right now.
I
And
love
I loved how you highlighted, you focus on, people that have been recently diagnosed as obese. What is the prevalence in Canada?
Oh gosh. The it's I think it was 70%, if you're classifying obesity um, as over 20, 30 in their BMI. And I mean, it's
Whoa.
high, right? Like, you see it in the States,
Oh
where
my God.
if the food portions, the types of activity people are not doing, and home all the time, it's becoming so normal that the people who are trying to be fit are the ones that are being shamed. Like, there's a lot of fit shaming, right? And I don't
Ooh.
even want to get in there, but I mean, there's, when you decide to go on the path to get better, get healthy, get fit, lose weight, look and feel confident, you're not
Yes.
encouraged, you're discouraged. And it's, I'm not saying this happens to everybody, but it's not a normal anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's that needs to change.
Why do you think that I'll say, I won't say culture, but that habit, or why do you think that there is a thing such as fit shaming?
I think we're just conditioned to feel that we should spoil ourselves with, junk food, liquor. not thinking about, not going within. It's just pretty much not digging deep into what the hurts and pains and like past wounds and all those things. It's covered up. You've got a solution for that. Let's give you food. Let's give you alcohol. Let's give you drugs. Let's give you, wild experiences to suppress that.
Keep you distracted, to
Let's keep
not
you
to not
distracted.
dive in. It's like, no, don't go into yourself, because then you might fuck around and find the cause of why you're feeling the way that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Let's put these shiny things in front of you. Let's put these women or men in front of you. Let's put this alcohol in front of you. Let's focus on the outside in and bombard your subconscious brain to continue to focus on those things, even subconsciously, which is 90 to 95% of your thoughts and your habits. So that's why consuming in mass without discernment of what's most important, of how is this impacting me, of self-reflection. I love that you said slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
People are
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I got to do more. I got to do more. Even in like with this Corona thing. So I hear a lot of people are like, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And it's like, what if you were just still?
Yes. Thank you.
Woo
Yes.
woo. That's like you said in the pre-chat, though. That's woo woo. No, it's not.
Like, there's that motto about, exercise more and eat less. Like that's the quote for losing weight. Well,
Sheesh.
I say stress less, rest more.
Ooh, say it again. Say it again for the people in the
Stress
back.
less and rest more.
Yes.
And that's the hardest prescription I think I've ever had to give out, that people find a struggle, right? Like you said, distraction is great. People love it because it keeps them away from doing the work, and the work is not easy. And I think that's where people are finding themselves now, in this position where they're feeling that, oh, I have to face
Mhm.
this, whatever
Mhm.
this
I got
is.
to face myself.
Yes. And it's not easy. Are you going to take the challenge on and say, okay, I'm ready to know who I am, be my own best friend, figure out who I am here for, what my purpose is,
Ooh.
what my soul is craving for? Not many people want to do that work.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Because that would, and I'd imagine some of the fit shaming. It's almost like my brother Reggie Mims, who will also be on this, brother Snoop. He talks
Mhm.
about how he's from Bainbridge, Georgia, and he's noticed in from that place it can be, and I imagine this can apply to other hometowns. Some people, when they start ascending, you could say consciously, or on the superficial, they start attracting success. They start attracting success. It's like the crab like reaching on up and trying to like pull them down into the pot. It's like, oh, well, you can't be great because well, I can't be great. Or it like threatens their needs. I don't know what need it could be in this moment, but it threatens their need as if, well, if they're being great, then I'm doing less. And that's bullshit, because it's like, it can
No,
be the other way. It's like, yo, like, it's like, each one, like, as we, it's
come
like
with
when one
me.
gets better,
Come
we all
with
get better.
me.
Yeah, come
Oh,
with
let's
me. It's
go.
not here.
Yeah,
Let me throw you up there, and then all right, come get me, come get me, come get me. And
exactly. Exactly.
man, I feel that mentality, at least as a species, as a tribe, there's so much competition, there's so much judgment, there's so much wrong and right. And I like how you said shaming, because I think actually, no, I don't. But I highly recommend the book Shame, Spiritual Suicide. I think it's by Dr.
Ooh,
Vicky Rosen. It's, yeah, write that down, write that down. Y'all
yeah.
can write that too, write that shit down right now.
Shame,
Shaming,
spiritual
shame,
suicide. Ooh,
spiritual suicide. It's an older book. I want to say it's 95,
wow.
but it's a little, it's like a maybe 80, 100-page book, but the chapters are so profound, and it talks about how shame has affected us as a society, and it has conditioned people to, well, that's right, this is the right thing to do, and this is the wrong thing to do, as a means of control or manipulating behavior, when that's not sustainable. One, because when someone gets shamed, like, shame is the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt can be a temporary thing. It's like, oh, well, I felt guilty for this. Shame, it's like, oh, well, I feel bad that I exist, and I had to, man, I'd say there's even still layers to things, right? But man,
Oh, yeah.
shedding.
That's actually hitting me deep right now, because I think,
Oof.
I was just reading about how shame is the lowest frequency vibration.
Oh, the low. I didn't know it was the lowest.
It's
Wow.
like the bottom. And, when you think about, our energy centers, that's a root emotion that many people
Mm.
can't go through, right? So when I talked about fit shaming, it's a hard it's a hard energy to get rid of in your body, and you have to identify that, because you can't. And facing that, I think, is probably the hardest thing. Is, what am I ashamed of? What am I fearful of? What am I, what is making me feel this shame? And, this goes back to me saying again, like, the trigger is the teacher. And you have to
So
ask
good.
yourself,
That's so good.
what is this emotion trying to tell me? What am I ashamed of? What am I not feeling good about? And, you talked about this too, like, when you're growing up, you don't know what to feel, and you rely
Mm.
on a lot of external people experiences to tell you what you should be experiencing at this moment. And if you're not finding that you've got a strong identity, you feel that much more shame. But it's just, you just have to
Yes.
keep peeling those layers, right? Like this shame is I have to deal with this shame, I have to deal with this shame, instead of identifying it as, this is who I am, this is my power, this is where I need
Oof.
to feel confident in, this is where I
Oof.
need to feel like I can take this experience and
Yes.
throw this on and know that I can help other people, because I
Yes.
know that you feel that same shame. How can I help you? Right?
Mm.
Instead of shame you.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, that's so
oh,
good.
spiritual suicide. I love that. Yeah.
Oh man, it just hits on it so deep because it shackles your soul.
Oh,
That shit, it really does. People, oh, you can move. No, I don't give a fuck. Like that will shackle your soul. You will not live your fullest, your greatest, your highest potential, because shame is the only thing where it can be start as an external force, say mom, dad, oh, insert name here, you're fat or you're ugly or don't do that. That's wrong.
yeah.
It can start as an external, and then it turns into an internal, and then it turns into an internal cycle. So you don't give yourself permission to do anything at the highest capacity that you used to be able to do, or could have.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I think that's hard, right? Those conversations are difficult, because I talk to my clients about this and I try to get right at it, and it's not, it's not easy to go through, where is your pain right now, whether it be physical or emotional or spiritual. Where is that pain coming from? Because needs to be um, that needs to be looked at
Yes.
instead of suppressed. You can't put that down, otherwise you'll never be in alignment, right? And this goes
Oof.
back to the nervous system. It's, if
Yes.
you're not in an alignment with your feelings and your emotions, that nervous system is confused, like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and it's trying to survive, right? It's trying to figure out, okay, let's suppress it, let's so your body starts freaking out and not knowing what to do, and it, like you said, it exhibits itself, it manifests itself in MS, Parkinson's, high blood pressure, obesity, all
Mm-hmm.
those things. And it's a
Anxiety, depression.
all of that, and it's there's no alignment there. You need to find alignment, and
Oh my.
until you can dig that deep and get under there, it's just going to continue to grow, whether it be good or bad, right?
Oh
Whatever you're
my
nourishing is going to
God.
be what's going to come through. So it's not an easy path, but I think, like you said, thought fitness and cellular hygiene is, like, you need to take care of all of that. That's
Let's go.
I
And
love
just so
that.
you know, she said nervous system and that you need to be in alignment. Oh, what is it we do as chiropractors? We align the bones of the spine, which house the spinal cord, which is the most sacred, special. It's the core of you. And because your nervous system, literally, that's the system in which you process life, right? Sight, eyes, link back to the brain, but then the brain shoots messages down to the spinal cord, so that way the spinal cord can send out the correct messages to each individual cell, muscle, tissue, organ
Yeah.
to respond and react as it needs to. And then the body's like, oh, you know what? This stove is kind of hot. Let me send some messages to the brain so, we can move as we need to. So it's a coordinated effort, afferent and efferent for my science people, of coordinated nerve function. And if you are repressing a certain part of your experience and not acknowledging or allowing those emotions to travel through your matter or travel through your molecules, they will reorganize in an unsustainable, or they will come out, the emotion will come out in some sort of way.
Well, it
Mine
will.
was anger.
Yes. Yeah. And it's you have to figure out, why am I so angry? What is it that I need to dig down? And it's not easy, right? You have to figure that shit out. And it's not something that like, this is where the shame comes back in, right? It's like, why did I feel that way? Or I shouldn't have felt that. The should is another low vibe word, right? I should be
Yes.
doing this. I should.
Yes.
It goes back to, who told you that? Who told you that story? Why is that story in your head? Is it true? Is it something that you believe? Because if it's not sitting well with you, then it's not a story you should believe. Finish
Yes.
it, fix that story, change it,
Finish
write it
that story.
down.
It's not done. The story isn't done. The story's not done. You are not a victim. You are instead the fucking hero to your journey.
Yeah.
And that shit is not done, but it's just that potential of emotion is just waiting for you to transmute into your fucking greatness.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And like I said, we're a soul and a body, not a body and a soul.
Amen.
And so this is where, and it's interesting because, you think about your childhood, and that was always a question that I asked myself, like, why am I in this body? Why am I not in yours? Why am I not in, you know, anybody else's body? Why am I here? Like, why is my soul in this body?
That's real. And man, I remember, so I grew up in a white suburb, and I even remember there wasn't a lot of black. There was maybe,
Amen.
man, I can't 5, 10, like there's not a lot of black people. And I remember looking at my hair, which was an afro, because I was picking it up, that was still the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember looking at like my white friends, and I'd be like, oh, well, that looks kind of cool. They're spiking their hair and shit. Or I was like, mine doesn't do that. I love my hair now. Like, I fucking love my hair. It's curly as shit, and I love it. Great
Who you are.
relationship. It's so good. Um, but man, it's the questions, especially, which I wanted to circle back to, which I love. Um, the questions that you can ask yourself when you're little and you're trying to figure things on out is from, well, it's like years 2 to 5, 2 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a theta brainwave, so you're
Yes.
absorbing literally everything directly into your subconscious. So the life experience of what kids observe
Yeah.
is imperative to their growth and the foundation of a healthy subconscious. What if that shit was taught in schools? How to cultivate a healthy subconscious? Like,
I
one of my
think that,
God.
like, I have a son that's 8 now,
Oh,
and that was, if I call it another superpower, I think that was my biggest, one of my biggest purposes, is to change the trajectory of how he is thinking, and not in some kind of control way, but to recognize that he's also a conscious being
mm,
that is learning his world. And how do
mm.
I encourage and support him in that by, you know, in the morning we do future self journaling,
Ooh,
he does meditation, he does, and these are things that I've kind of, you do it and you drip feed it, right? Like, there's only so much attention
great.
you can give them. I
Nice.
mean, now, like, now that he's 8 and I see him have these habits of, like, he's meditating, he's
Oh my
finding
God.
time to enjoy himself. Like, he did a joy list the other day, and he's just like, what are the things that bring you joy? Like, you know
Oh my
having
goodness.
a towel wrapped, towel from the dryer wrapped around you, just the little things that he writes down. And I'm like, at 8 years old, I was not, that's
Right.
not where I was. That's not
No, it
where I was.
wasn't.
So it's
Wow.
amazing to see where he's coming at. And at the end of each day, right, we look at, what are we grateful for?
Mm,
And it's like, he'll talk about different experiences, but I'm like, just that routine or that habit, it's like, I hope, and I know he's an old soul, he came from somewhere else, because just the way he thinks and asks questions, I'm so honored that I'm his mother. He's not someone that I control, but he's someone who's just teaching me just as much as I'm teaching him. And I think that's the best thing ever, when we can
oh,
teach each other regardless of who it
yes.
is, right? We're learning from each other. And I think that's
I
the
love that.
That's the
Oh my
best thing ever.
God. Hey, y'all can grab y'all tissues, man, and
Oh,
wipe y'all eyes, man. That was beautiful. Snap it up for this wonderful lady as y'all listening, chilling in y'all cars, on the way or in the gym, whatever. Put that dumbbell down and have some snaps for this lady. I love that, as I feel that will lead to a that can lead to a very mm, transformational, like, coaching. I don't say coaching, but it seems like coaching. Parent strategy is to understand you're not here to just pour into your kid as if it's some second version of you. I forget the quote or where I found it. I think it was on IG, maybe yours, because you have some fire ass quotes. Love what you put on up. But a child emerges, or a child appears to help teach you, not to you to teach them.
most definitely. I believe in that completely, completely.
It's beautiful because they see the world as it is. Like, they'll call out adults on their bullshit, or if they're lying or whatever it is, and it's like they're so free. And man, I love that things are coming full circle. But the Four Agreements talks about,
Yes,
there's the judge, and then there's the victim, and they both the judge of your mind can be the confines, the constructs, the limitations, the beliefs, the shoulds from society, from parenting, from family, from friends, whatever it may be. And that can play into a limited expression of you, and you're no longer being impeccable with your word to you. And it recognizes that, to be impeccable with our words, what if our words were all constructive or white magic, or we use them with an intention to
yes,
build up that other person?
yes. Like I am confident. I am free. You've heard that before, where everybody's like, yeah, that's like what they did on Saturday Night Live. I'm like, it has meaning to that in
Mm.
terms of when you say I am, because what you
Mm.
think at the end of it is what you will be, right? And I think that's the hardest thing that people have to come through is, who am I? And I am this, and to take action on that, statement, because you need to believe it. Um,
Take action. I love it.
it's the Ramit Sethi. I don't know if you know who he is. He wrote this book called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich," but he used this term called invisible script.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. It's like, what is your story? What's the script in your head? So when you come across an
Yes.
opportunity, what's the script in your head? Am I good enough? Am I able to do this? Is this even who I am? Those kind of questions you ask yourself. But why is the first emotion doubt? Why is the first emotion guilt? Why don't you look at the emotion and say, um, what good is this going to bring me? What new experience am I gonna go through if I say yes or if I say no? It's not. It's kind of like thinking about the consequences, but at the same time, opening up the door to
Mm-hmm.
possibility, opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
experiences, a new
Mm-hmm.
awareness, a new teaching, a new lesson. Um, I
Beautiful.
think that's where you have to really, like, again, it's doing the work, right? I think that's where, regardless of if your issue is, like you said, you're a chiropractor, you're dealing with individuals and ensuring that they're adjusted and aligned. But until they can deal with that root problem, you're gonna have to keep going through that. Until we learn the lesson, it's gonna be, it's going to continue to repeat itself.
Yes.
And you have to ask yourself, okay, fine, I'm gonna finally look at it and ask myself, what is this experience, and why does it keep repeating? You have to face that. You have to face
Mm.
those experiences and those emotions, however you're feeling about whatever's going on. It's, you can't. You just have to. And I think once we, I'm hoping, and I'm optimistic that during this time period that we are going to go through this, that we are looking at ourselves and saying,
Yes.
what is this all for?
Ugh.
Where do I step up and help this universe, you know, grow, flourish? And we have to ask ourselves, how can we help the next person, even if it's just one person, even if it's,
Even if it's just one.
even if it's just one. That's all.
You don't know what because you don't know what that one person can do, like, differently. They could be the next president. They could do whatever. Like, I've been on mission trips where we've seen thousands upon thousands of people, and those are people that never would have had a heightened awareness, because that's ultimately what an adjustment is.
Yes.
I think that's the first time I said ultimately. I'm trying to say it less. But that adjustment can shift their awareness into something completely different emotionally, physically. That way they feel different because, you know, a lot of times people ask, well, how are you feeling? And I don't give a damn about that. Like, I do see and acknowledge your pain, like, yes, but what is that you can't do anymore?
Yes.
What is this hindrance stopping you from doing? Who are you on the other side of this when you are able to recapture the reins to possibility for your health with the heightened awareness? That's why it's no small thing and it's no woo-woo thing that the big intention or big intention of chiropractic can be to elevate human consciousness. That's something we work with Kairos
Yeah.
training culture, which
Yeah.
is do and with Kairos, like, we do a lot of the inner work, or we have a lot of awareness of the inner work, because as a healing facilitator, it is our responsibility to heal our own shit. And we can, because we can only take people to the level that we've traversed within our own self.
Yes. Amen to that, for sure. I mean, like you said, it's not easy work. I keep saying that. I
Right.
know it's not, but it's
That's
just,
good.
it's like, it doesn't matter how you're dealing with whatever issue it is. You have to, it's only you, that you're the one that has to face
It's only
that.
you.
It's
Mm.
all, it's all you. And this is where other people come into play. I mean, when you think about, you know, how do moms do it? How does that next person do it? How is that person able to do that? They get help. They ask other people.
Mm.
That other person is who you can rely on for support, but you're still
Yes.
the one that has to take in that, you know, whether it be guidance,
Yep.
support, adjustment. How can I help make this better? How can I
Yes.
improve this? And I
whatever
think,
the whatever the vehicle might be, but you're there. That's why you're so potent of, you know, of having both, you know, worlds of your expertise. And that's why we all can, right?
yes,
That's why life coaches can be so great. And I'd love to hit on that. It's because we're able to, I'm not here to shame you. Like, my clients, like, it's a lot of asking deeper level questions that they're coming up with the answers with, that they're diving deep, adding layers and layers of layers. And yes, I am holding them accountable, but it's like, I'm just helping you shovel on out a little bit more
yeah,
what you already know, because, like you keep saying, it's not easy work, but it's worth it.
yeah. And I mean, if you have to ask yourself another question, you have to, I think the question is what gives you the answer, right? So you have to ask the right question.
So
And
good.
one of the questions that always comes up is, and I think Shanae was the one that kind of reiterated or reinforced it again, but what would your future self do
Mm,
in this instance? Right. So
mm.
when you think about, you know, you come through an experience and it's a trigger. Intention over impulse is another one that I usually tell my
Ooh,
clients. I'm like, you know, we're so, you know, it goes back to routines, right? You get up, you go on the phone. Like, that used to be a impulse. But you get up
yes,
this time
yes.
and you're like, I want to be a better person. My future self is more aligned, is at peace. So what would your first action be? It would be to meditate. It would be to journal. It would be to express gratitude. It would be to, you know, kiss your children, kiss your
Mm.
family.
Oh,
That's
yes.
intention. It's not impulse anymore. And that's just, even doing that is feeding your soul, where you feel like, I did this for me, and the trust that you have within yourself increases. Because
Yes.
a lot of the times when we're upset with ourselves, or when we're starting to feel shame or guilt or whatever, it's because we didn't keep a promise to ourselves. And when you continue to do that, you're not trusting yourself. You're separating yourself from who you are, and that's where the misalignment comes from, right? So,
Mm.
um, yeah, that's where.
That was fucking fire. And I'd add, it's like with a conscious intention, because you're, whether it's 10 years out in the future, like Joel Brown has, I've worked with him with Ruby and the Thought Leadership Collective. Shout
Yes.
out to y'all.
Yeah.
And he talks about the 10-year vision and some of the components to it, and who you need to be and who you need to, like, rereading it. Like, see that whiteboard up there? I'm gonna put
Yeah.
all my
I
visions up there
see.
and
Yes.
everything.
I love
'Cause
it. Love it.
nice. But
Yeah.
essentially, I have a book. I have a book of me, of who I want to be at 36 years old and 10 years in the future.
Yeah.
And it's in all domains of life. And it's like, with the conscious actions that I can step into now of what the future me would do, then I am literally being that Reverend Dr. Jamal Brewster, the hype man for healthcare professionals, right fucking now. And that will continuously to drastically change my life. And it's like, as you focus on a conscious intention, your impulses will change.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, you know, I tell people, I'm like, if you want to get there faster, you need to be here now.
Amen.
And that means intention, intention over impulse. Recognize
So
what the
good.
impulse is that you want to change. And I think that's where the, resting more and stressing less, slowing time, finding joy in just the little luxuries, right? Like, when my son wrote that, being wrapped around a towel, towel
That's
that
so
comes out
good.
of a dryer. I'm just like, those are little luxuries that we have to take into
Mm.
consideration and enjoy, right? We're here to live. We're not here to be. I mean, we're not here to do.
Nice.
Right? Beings, not doings. Like, it's a common thing that we're said, but we need to just be. And I just wish more people would know that. And I know you
Oh,
feel the same way, but I think
yes.
I
We're
created this podcast so that we
yeah.
can have these discussions. People will start understanding that it's the answer is in you. That's what you have to. That's what you have to just remember and
Oh,
trust it.
and trust it. And even if it doesn't, even if it hurts, even if it's hard, like going through it now, it's okay because you're moving to things, taking people on a journey, take people on a journey from being burnt out, depressed, anxious, disconnected from the purpose. And don't worry, we're on a nice yacht. We're going to Potential Island, and that requires, a certain level of diligence and knowing that, hey, that's where we're going. It's cool to be aware of the GPS of where you're at right now. Like, cool. Notice with that red triangle on the screen, like wherever, that's okay. But no, we're going somewhere else. But you need to be the driver to your fate. You need to be the captain to your ship, the captain
Yeah.
to your soul, the master of your destiny. It
Yes.
can't
Oh,
come
for
from
sure.
me.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you read Dr. Dispenza, but he talks about tuning
Oof.
into new potentials, right? And you have to visualize where you want to be, what is the thought, and that thought has to be aligned with the feeling. So looking
Mm.
at your future self, what is the thought that's going to create that feeling? And if it's not in the same line, you're always going to be moving around and
Yeah, it's
zig.
gonna be dissonant. It's not gonna be aligned.
Yeah.
And the cool part of was breaking the habit of being yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
love it because it talks about shedding your circumstances or your environment, essentially, your body and time. Because,
Yes.
because I'm sure you've experienced,
Oh.
is time linear?
No.
With all this time, like everyone's like, what day is it, or what month is it, or what?
I have no idea.
Like I forgot it's Saturday already. And so throw out time because that's a man-made construct.
Yes.
Then you bring in the body. You are not your body. Your body
Mm-hmm.
is the vessel.
Yes.
So, but people identify so much with their body, especially when they can be obese or, whatever someone's going through, they're just not happy with themselves. Shedding and understanding that you're not these cells, but there's something beautiful animating them. There
Yeah.
is no like you, or there's no mind in your brain. Your
Yeah.
brain is not your mind.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And people miss that shit because they don't know. And then your environment, man, you're not here forever. One, like this is your,
It's not
like
here.
what.
It's not really here. This is what we're seeing. This is not,
Yes.
you're not in that room. You're here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, it's like how would people move if they could understand, like, your environment is temporary. Your environment doesn't need to be with you. Your environment is so one, and the access to the environment, like there's a whole world that you can, I mean, besides this time, but hop on a plane and probably get to, and you have access to things. This is a time of just so much accessibility, where I feel as this next decade would be massive is how can we leverage our accessibility to healthcare, to with our own technology. Like how can we just
Yes.
leverage
This
what's out there?
avenues like this, like, podcast listening, when you thought, how they say, you're a product of the environment that you're in. You choose your environment,
Mm.
right? I can say, okay, I'm gonna tune into Jamal's podcast because I want to be in this state of complete awareness to understand who I am. That's a choice I made. That's an
Amen.
environment choice that I made to do. And I mean, when you start asking for, um, desiring for experiences to connect with other people who have a soul similar to yours, or that you can have conversations like what we're having right now, it's
Mm.
an amazing thing when you can say, I want, I desire that. And I can't remember which book I was reading, but he was saying how, to want, if we say that we want, we're always going to be in a state of wanting. right? It's never going to get there. We're always saying I want. So what you want to say is I desire, and I am, and I have, because we do have it. We just, the words that we use is what tells us our experience. So on a
So
practical
good.
level, I guess when you think about, I know we keep talking more on a larger scale, but on a practical
Good.
level, look at your daily life. What's your, from the time that you wake up until the time that you go to bed, what are you doing? You need to
Mm-hmm.
write that stuff down and be
Yes.
accountable to yourself. And, what are you eating? What are for me, it's what's your fitness, what's your sleep, what's your energy, what's your cravings, like all those little things. But once you start seeing it all put together, you realize there's little pieces that you can fix in your life, and it's just focusing on one that day, right? And
One at a time.
and then as you realize that, you're like, oh, okay, like in the morning when I'm waking up, I'm looking at my phone. I don't want to be that person. I
Nope.
want to be the person that wakes up with peace.
Yes.
When I go to bed, I don't want to be the person that's falling asleep having the TV watch me. I want to be able to go to sleep and understand that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what I had. What were the amazing experiences that I had today? And one of my strengths, I think, when I did one of these strength finder things, is I'm a thinker.
Mm.
And the
Amen.
I guess the downside to that is being able to communicate that and put it into applicable, action steps. So reflection, taking a look at your day, taking a look at your week, taking a look at your year. We kind of spend 1 year on New Year's to kind of look at, oh, how was my year? No, do that every day. Do
Mm.
that every hour. How did this last 3 hours work for me? Did I align myself with my future self, or did I do something that my past self keeps coming back to, right? You have to ask yourself that. Oh yeah, like, I didn't go to sleep today because I was so busy. Okay, what's that busy mean? Because now that's an excuse.
That shit's a distraction. Busyness is lazy. Being
Yeah.
lazy or being busy is fucking lazy. Tim Ferriss says that. And I love that because it goes back to the doing. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's like I don't say we hype up, but there's such a cultural celebration and, New Year's resolution, and people, they do see themselves like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna hit the gym, I'm gonna do this and this, but then it fizzles out because life happens, or you ask them what happened. It's like, oh, well, work picked up, or the kids, or this or that. Forget that shit. What state of being were you in when you created that powerful declaration for yourself for a new year? And what the fuck happened to that? Because
Yeah.
you deserved that. It
Yeah.
dropped into your mind and you saw that shit. But what happened?
They stopped losing. They lost trust in themselves.
Oh,
Sorry. I
no,
mean,
that's so good. That's so
I
good.
think that's where, like I said, this is where the alignment needs to come in, because if you're going to state that, yeah, okay, so maybe yesterday I fell back, but it's now. I can change that decision. So even if I just ate, an ice cream an hour ago, I can change my decision now and drink water, right? It's
Mm-hmm,
not permanent. That
mm-hmm,
too will pass, right? So
mm-hmm.
you want to understand that you can make that decision by making it right now, like today, in this moment, in this instant.
Mm.
That's all
That's
you
what.
have control over, right? Is the present moment.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, this has been a super, super enjoyable conversation. Thank you for interweaving so many things. And what I'm hearing is it's come up before. Like I talked with my buddy Matt, who's a life coach out in Colorado, and it's the responsibility to live, and kind of like what Viktor Frankl says at the beginning, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's so juicy because one, he was from he's the only survivor of his family in the Holocaust, going to concentration camps, and he is a founder of a technique of psychology and or branch in psychology. And to be able to come, I think that's part of the essence of this podcast, to showcase where people have come from, to allow others to give themselves the permission, the trust, the belief in oneself that you can make it too.
Mm-hmm.
You just
Yeah.
need a purpose bigger than you. And if well, I can't do this for me, then it's like, well, who can I do this for? Is it for your son? Is it for your partner, or your relationship partner? Is it for your family? Is it for humanity? How big is your purpose? So that way you can consciously make the decision to evaluate, is this in my highest self? Even something simple as going out and drinking, is that who I want to be, or is that just hitting a temporary need? and
Yeah.
what is the need? What are my needs? Oh my God. Well, what are my top needs? Then you can meet those needs that are in alignment with your highest self while still enjoying what's in front of you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think, when you're talking about being the hype care for health professionals, I'm glad that you're doing that because, when I first started fitness nursing, the majority of my clientele were nurses, were healthcare
Oh,
professionals because, they've given themselves away to their profession and they haven't taken care of themselves.
oh yeah. I need a whole new page for this. That was important.
Right. So, I mean, they, that they came into the profession to help others, not stating that they're there to help. They should have been there to help themselves first. And
Amen.
that's a tough realization, I think, for them. And that's why they fall into shift work syndrome, obesity. They're the ones that are getting a lot of these healthcare conditions or health diseases because they're not looking within. They are taking care of other people, but they're not taking care of themselves. And I think that's where the healthcare system is failing, is because that work is not being done.
Oh my God. I think you're definitely hitting on such a great gold mine. What do you think it is that lullabies or lulls our healthcare providers, nurses, doctors, XYZ to give themselves away? What is it that causes that switch or that lack of awareness?
I think it's the dominant story that they're there to help. It is. They really want to help people and they've neglected to help themselves. And there's that disconnect between them understanding that they can't help other people until they help themselves.
Amen. Yeah, man. That's why doing. I didn't start meditating, journaling, vision, like any of that until I got to grad school because I got my shit lit up by Dr. Brett and the KTC community, which I keep saying I keep talking about them because they provide such a safe space, and certain doctors like have been through things being in that husk, that shell of oneself. And Dr. Lance Von Stade, who will also be on this podcast too, he talks about the three circles. The first circle he has is the circle of, he's got to take care of himself, but he's being a father. Then the bigger circle is like, all right, he's being a husband. Then the biggest circle, he's like, then I'm a chiropractor.
Yeah,
and
good
and
point.
and
Yeah.
it's like, wow, like we've heard, like you can adjust 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in a week, but it's like you're just giving from an empty well, from an empty shell. So what hell is that now creating within you?
Yes.
You got
Yeah.
to serve you. You got to pull up you. That's why I love what I do, because like, hey, I'm here to fan that flame to your soul fire. Oh, you're a couple of empty. Let me pour a little bit into you. Let me pour a
Yes.
little bit in you.
Yes.
So it's a state of abundant well-being, because I truly believe that I have this vision of when our healthcare providers can be provided for, when we can experience our abundant well-being, we can show up as a higher better of us. And it's our energy, it's the excitement, it's the life that is within you that will permeate their energy, your patient's energy, before you even walk into the door and say, hello, I'm nurse so and so, I'm here to help you.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, fully and completely. I fully believe that for sure. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's big.
Ew.
I'm feeling pretty complete. How you feeling?
I feel so energized, I think, knowing that you feel
Mm.
the same way.
And I hope y'all feeling energized too, man. This has been a wonderful conversation with MaryAnn. MaryAnn, thank you so much. Well, I'd love to begin to wind down the show, and I've started to work on more and more questions I'd love to ask, and I think there'll be three. But one would be, if you could recommend any books that were massive in your transformation and shift, what were they?
Okay. The 7 habits of highly effective people.
Amazing.
You mentioned one already, the 4 agreements. Oh gosh. I don't even know where I
So
have so
many,
many books.
so many.
The Alchemist is
Oh
also
my
a good one.
goodness.
Um, Superhuman, Dr. Joe Dispenza's, and the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Mm,
At this point right now, those were some major game changers,
that's so good.
especially if you're trying to find yourself and learn about who you are. I think those are the main books. But 7 Habits was that Viktor Frankl quote was actually one of the ones that changed my life because I realized that I had control over my choices And I think when you realize that, that
Mm.
just gives you so much power to know that you are, like you said, you're the driver. But a lot of the times you're growing up thinking that you don't have that control. And I think that's where people have to understand that you are you incorporated. You are not a nurse that works for XYZ hospital. You are Jamal Incorporated. You're who you are. You're your brand. And when nurses go into hospital or whether healthcare professionals are working, they identify themselves with, I'm Jamal that works in this hospital. No, you're not. You're Jamal.
Yes. Yes, you gotta work for you. I for my brother Patrick Brumfield, brother Com. I got a lot of brothers. He recommended this
Mm-hmm.
video. I don't know what podcast it is. I can't remember, but there was a pastor and he was talking about you're the CEO of your mind,
That's it. That's it.
and that's exactly
That's
what
it.
you're saying. And it's like, man, you're not an employee of your mind, and it takes the responsibility, but it comes with the awareness. So I appreciate, as I'm sure our listeners appreciate, these 4 or 5 books, which are massive in awareness of both societal patterns and how that can be impacting them as an individual, and then what they can do to then have an impact on society and not have society have an impact on them. So that's absolutely massive.
And lead yourself, right? I mean, like, it goes back to that same thing where I say, what would your future self do? What would your leader in yourself do? How would you lead yourself through this experience?
How would you? Oh man, that's so good, because then that allows you to be able to, I don't say have an outer body of experience, but it's like,
Yes, it
what
is
does
body experience because you're asking Jamal,
fuck yeah, you're right.
Jamal, 2 hours from now, what would I be doing if I wanted to really align myself with who I want to be? That's
That's real. I feel the pull already. I'm like, all right, I'm about to hop on YouTube. I'm about to be editing these podcasts. Like, what's up? I'm
yeah.
hyped.
Yes.
Damn, that's real. And oh man, all right, this conversation ain't over. Y'all stay tuned. Like, I just had a conversation with one of my brothers, Michael Hollerback, or Dr. Michael Hollerback, one of the greatest leaders I've ever followed, Brother Huddle. And we walked on fire together. And that is, yeah, we walked on fire together. And that's something that people are like, oh my God, like what? Or, fire, oh yeah, what's some voodoo or woody woody wah shit. And it's like, no, because I'll tell you, the key thing that got me across that fire wasn't looking down at the fucking fire. No, it was looking literally at the end of the fire. And I pictured in my mind's eye, and I pictured like a future me with my hand extended, my hand literally extended, like, come on, like, let's go to Europe. Like, let's travel the world with chiropractic. Like, let's do this thing. And I was like, there's nothing stopping me. Oh, and then clean, unscathed feet
Wow.
afterwards. And then we went like 5 or 6 more times because like, oh, fuck it. It's a fire. Let's do it. I did it once.
And right, and that's where I said, like, once you open up yourself to say, I will take control of that experience, the next time it comes around, you're like, I recognize this trigger, I recognize what I know what to do now. And that
I know what to
brings
do
so
now.
much confidence in how you deal with life. And I think that's where right now, like I said, it's we're in a time where we're seeing different people respond very differently from all sorts of ways, and who are the ones that did the work, because they are calm, they're at peace, and they're prepared. And the other ones are still kind of, what the hell is going on? I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's where, that's where we can help those people.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't know who I'm being.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. Just want to give some love to Shanae Momoko, part of the
Yeah.
Thought Leadership Collective, and linking me with this beautiful soul here, MaryAnn Masesar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to correct that shit. I was like, came out earlier. I was like, no, I can clean that up. MaryAnn
Yeah.
Masesar. Mary, how can our listeners connect to you outside of this episode?
You can contact me through Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. So MaryAnn.yourfitnessnurse.
Beautiful. Your fitness nurse. Cool.
And
And
I
is it?
love direct messaging. So feel free to send me videos, audios. I'm all about finding a way to connect even closer. So when you sent me the video, that
Yes.
was great. I'm an audio person. So it's, text messaging is fine, but there's just no emotion in there.
Yeah, give me a little bit of something. I love that you love that, because I was like, how do I say hi? How can I get her to feel me? I was like, I want her to feel me. I was like, I'm gonna send her a video. I was like,
Yeah.
hey,
And
MaryAnn, how you doing?
it was perfect. It was perfect.
So I can attest to her reaching out, y'all. So please reach out to this woman on Instagram, hit her on up, pick her brain, ask her questions, check out some of her programs, check out some of her fire posts that invoke a lot of these questions. And if you have any needs for fire journal prompts, just literally pick any of her posts, and most of her posts have some fire journal prompts for you in case you're lost still with, well, I don't know what to look at. Take a look at her posts, so that way you guys can begin to build some introspection on what's important to you, what are your needs, fueling up with an intention versus an impulse at the beginning and the end of your days, especially as those are important as you are going into the subconscious mind, being in a theta state or coming out of it into a theta state from sleep or winding down the day. So that's a really, really juicy time to meditate, to put in the self work, because you can reconstruct yourself from those moments. Beautiful.
Yes, for sure. I think to wrap it up in terms of how we were speaking, but I think when I tell people, or this is kind of the model that I use, is what's your drive? And D is the detox from distraction. So we talked about that.
Ooh.
R is reflection, routines, and rest. I is intention over impulse. So we spoke on that. V is visualizing, whether you visualize success, visualizing your future self. And E is energy management. So managing your energy in any space that you're in.
That is amazing. Oh, what is your drive? Man, we will definitely highlight that in the show notes. I hope y'all hit the rewind button on podcasts like a bunch of times, so that way you write down all of that goodness. MaryAnn, the final question for you to bring this wonderful episode to a close is, as the title of this podcast is called Soul Coffee, the question is, what is the name of your flavor of soul coffee you offer to the world?
Ooh, you didn't prepare me for that one. What is the name of my coffee? That was a tough one, but I would say, can't even be creative here, but I think it's mocha, mainly because it sounds sweet, it sounds fun. It's a mixture of depth and just all around goodness. It feels good when you soak that all in.
I feel that. Yeah, I feel that. And, you got a little bit of Filipino, sprinkles in there, with some Hispanic descent in there, nothing crazy. It's been wonderful. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you, MaryAnn, so much. Thank you for listening, y'all. If this was valuable for y'all, please, like I said, follow her on Instagram. Please share this with friends. Please screenshot, share a quote on Instagram at either of us. Drop a 5-star review, and let's blow this shit on up. This is gonna be one of the first 4 episodes, y'all. So
I appreciate it, love it.
Absolutely, like, let's blow this on up.
Yeah.
I imagine you're gonna have people reaching out to you, MaryAnn, and just a thank you on behalf of healthcare providers for being able to be a bridge in between. I honestly don't even want to say a holistic lifestyle, but a holistic lifestyle and an awareness of lifestyle per se, and where that can be missing in the allopathic model, because it's not a right versus wrong, but it's like, well, why don't we just marry the two, so that way that's a new form of healthcare.
Yes, thank you. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Oh, and so we are. Stay tuned, y'all. I hope y'all have an amazing rest of the day. Thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.